Ace, what was your read on whatever that was in Newark? Like, it's still outstanding, even breaking this down on today's show. Outshot 39-16. Anthony Stolarz is out of this world, but somehow, some way, the Leafs won that game. What?
Yeah, this is the new Leafs team. This is a team that could win without having their A game being brought to the table. I think their goaltending tandem, if not being the best in the National Hockey League, it's right up there. Without a doubt. With like they had no business being in that hockey game, fellas, last night. No business at all. But you use that phrase all the time. Give us a chance to win. Stolarz did that, and he's done that time and time again this regular season. And it's just the way they're playing. Like they're not trying to create something out of nothing. Yes, they struggled. Yes, they couldn't find the offense, but they stuck with it. And they didn't put themselves in a position where they got blown out 5-0. A lot of that's goaltending. A lot of that's that decor. I know I work on TNT with super fan Paul Bissonnette, and Biz loves pumping and using like the blue and white pom-poms. But honestly, we worked with Craig Berube a little bit last year, and he reminds me a little bit of Talk. I played with both guys and trained with both guys. They're playing playoff hockey right now. I love what Tree's really done with building that team, especially in the back end. I've never thought that the Leafs back end was anything ever special. They're really top heavy. And I know the fans there in Toronto like pumping Morgan Riley as a number one D-man. Morgan Riley's a nice defenseman, but he's not a number one defenseman. I think he's better suited in that second slot. And having OEL and Tanev, I mean, now you've got a bona fide first pairing decor. And Tanev's work, I think it's going under the radar. I really do. Like, he's been called a stay-at-home defenseman, but you watch him on the ice. He doesn't spend that much time in his own end because he makes that right play every single time. Oh. And he's a nice safety blanket for that coaching staff to have.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. This is a different hockey team. They have a different identity. You can see them playing different styles of hockey. But when things aren't going well, it seems like a problem they've had in the past is they just can't seem to find the scoring. Do you attribute that to anything in particular with this amount of offensively minded players to hit that wall at certain times?
I think it's just a matter of today's NHL or just the game in general. I think we see Matthews, we see Marner, we see Tavares, we see Nylander and think, oh, these guys should be putting up, 150 points. The skill level is ridiculous. But we forget sometimes that other teams also know that the Leafs have Matthews and Marner and Nylander. So they're trying their best to shut these players down. When I watch the Leafs right now, I watch plays. Are they forcing things? Is it a 1-on-4? Does Nylander have the puck and try to go through four guys when the other guys in his team are changing? What time of the game are they trying to make these plays happen? Are they up a goal or guys like trying to be cookie monsters looking for extra points? Or are they trying to be smart about it? And I really believe this team this year, from watching them so far, there's a different vibe and a different feel to them. And talking to my boys back home, and, I know Mitch Marner took a lot of heat last year. He's the one player, fellas, that I think is going to benefit from the Four Nations than anyone else. He's that one player because he'll be around Sid. He'll be around Nate Dogg. He'll be around winners. And I really believe that's really going to rub off on him. And he's going to bring that back and take his game to the next level in the postseason, because I don't think he's been that bad in the postseason. He hasn't been as prolific as he has been in the regular season point-wise, but he's still been creating things. I think this is the year that we see Mitchie really break out in the postseason.
Yeah, I think it's more about the perimeter game for Mitch Marner in the postseason, but you could say that for a lot of players. And yeah, the proof will be in the pudding this time around, especially in a contract year. Now, Ace, you're dialed into the entire league. Find me a better goaltender. Like, who would be on that short list in the Vezina conversation? I know we're always careful. I know we don't want to blow things up in this market, but I came out hot and heavy to start this show, and I said that Anthony Stolarz should be one of the finalists if the season ended today for the Vezina Trophy. Who would you put in that Vezina conversation right now, aside from Connor Hellebuyck, of course?
Oh, I'd probably say Markstrom has to be in that conversation too. I really like Allmark in Ottawa, but I'm with you. Stolarz, if we had to vote today, would have to be the guy. Without a doubt. Shesterkin's been up and down. The Rangers' defense has been brutal. The usual suspects that you look at.
All right, we'll try to connect once again with Anson. I think we lost Ace here on the show.
Guy that I don't.
Definitely just talking about Vezina contenders. I think Philip Gustafson in Minnesota would be in that conversation as well. Hellebuyck. But I would say right now, Rosie, I think right now, those are my three guys. Pretty sure.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I haven't like put the numbers up against each other. I'm sure they're all very similar, but to me, you got to take into account the fact that he's in that market, that he hasn't been in this position before. I think that holds weight too at giving him some credit above and beyond what the other guys have had to go through.
Asa, we got you back. So
Yeah,
yeah, we're just talking about the Vezina candidates. Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I lost you guys there, but I think I heard you talk about the market that he's in too. I mean, I think that plays into it a little bit. He's gonna get a lot more exposure. A lot more people are gonna see what he's doing, and he's right there. You know, if he was to be named the Vezina Trophy winner today, honestly, fellas, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I would have to agree. His play speaks for itself. He's stolen so many games. We keep saying that we only need one hand or less to count how many weak goals he's let in, and we're like looking at Christmas right now. It's pretty incredible. But you had mentioned Mitch Marner here just previously, and obviously with his contract year, the way he's playing. But on the other side of things, are you committing to the same guys you've had for the last 8 years that haven't got done in the playoffs? If you're the general manager today, what is your play with Mitch Marner specifically?
Well, I would extend him. I believe in Mitch, and it's only because the cap is increasing. I like our D. I like our goaltending, so I would extend him because here's the problem if you don't extend Mitch Marner. And I know there's always these tough decisions to be made. On TNT, I threw out a Rantanen for Marner trade. and that's who you might have to get in return for someone like that. Okay, and it's the same problem that New York has with the bread man, too. How these guys are tremendous in the regular season, but they haven't quite put it together in the postseason. I'd point to a player like Stevie Yzerman. You know, I went to Michigan State University. I saw Detroit play all the time. Stevie Yzerman kind of had that same reputation where, didn't have the postseason success until Scotty Bowman got there. Then now Stevie's an all-timer, won several cups, the ultimate leader. He's looked at it in a different light. I think Marner could be that player, but it's going to take that one postseason to make that happen. But when I look at the cap going up, I think it's going up next year. It's going to go up the next several years too. The business of hockey is so strong that there's going to be some room there to really add additional players. What happened to the Leafs, they signed their core fours, the pandemic happened. And then the cap was flat for several years and they couldn't add anything else and they were screwed. So you have to get at least to the postseason. And right now, I haven't seen Matthews play a full 82 games yet. So that's a concern for me too. So if Big Papi goes down, who's going to drive your engine for you? So you got Tavares, his deal's up. If I'm JT, I'm taking a lot less money to stay in Toronto. He's probably made over $100 million, so he's set financially. But you got to get to the postseason. And Mitch Marner's the guy that'll get you there. Now, once you're there, it's a different conversation.
The Batman to Marner's Robin, Austin Matthews. So he's back in the mix, scores the OT winner against the New Jersey Devils. But Rosie and I both agree there's just something a bit off. Is this just a guy who's sacrificing a bit, for the betterment of his team? Or do you see a bit more here with what's going on with Austin Matthews throughout this year?
Yeah, I mean, he's still getting his points. I mean, since he's been back, he's been on fire. I would take an Austin Matthews scoring 40 goals in the Stanley Cup if I'm a Leaf fan than an Austin Matthews scoring 70 goals and, getting bounced in the first round. I like how he's rounding out his game. And it might not show up in terms of goals and assists, but it's going to show up long term. I think it'll show up. And he's wearing the C2, fellas. So he really has to be about winning more so than points. So I'm not as concerned about him not putting up these gaudy numbers as some of these other players in the National Hockey League. As long as he rounds out his game and then he stays healthy, that I'm good with that. I really am.
Mm-hmm. Now, you have alluded to the fact that you think this team looks different. I would agree with that, as Craig Berube has kind of put his fingerprints on this thing so far. Throughout all the injuries and everything they've had, they've really looked damn good so far. And we're past American Thanksgiving. We're creeping up on Christmas time here. If you were to make some changes to this team, talking trade-wise, what do you think they could use as additions?
I would add additional center. And also, you never could have enough defensemen. Because the postseason, especially that first round, oh my goodness, it's a battle. Everyone's like seek and destroy. Everyone's getting crushed.
Yeah.
So I would add a depth defenseman for sure. And then I'd try to go and add a third line centerman. A player that was in the market before that, I don't know if you go there again, would be a Ryan O'Reilly. So you could plug him out of out of Nashville. But I also understand that he walked away previously. So I don't know if the factor will come back to Toronto or not. but I would add some more depth down the middle for sure. But I like this team a lot, Toronto. I really do. They got size, they have speed, their decor is really good, and they have the offensive ability up front. But more importantly, they have the goaltending. Goaltending will make or break you, and I believe they have that. If Wall could stay healthy, that's a big if right now, and you got to knock wood if you're a Leafs fan. If he can stay healthy, they're in a lot better position than before. But right now, I like that 1-2 combination they have with Wall and Stolarz.
Yeah, I still have nightmares of that fucking Trent Frederick goal in the playoffs last year on Samsonov. Holy shit, man. It just, that can't go in. But there's another guy in Nashville I really like to pick up, Luke Shen. He's been here a couple times before. So, excuse me, maybe that comes to fruition. But I wanted to leave you with this. I love asking guys who are local products. Was there ever an opportunity for you in your career to play for the Maple Leafs, Anson?
There was. I tried to get to Toronto several times.
Oh.
And the one time I came close, I believe, was John Ferguson Jr., I believe was the GM. And it was before I signed in Vancouver. And we went out, we had dinner. Might have went to Soda, I'm sure. There's someplace in Yorkville went to dinner. And we sat down, tried to be under the radar. I could be more on the radar now because I don't have the dreads. Before I had the dreads, so everyone recognized.
Yeah.
But I tried pretty hard to come to Toronto. I think they ended up signing the Big E instead, and I went to Vancouver. But for years, guys, the Maple Leafs did not want to have local guys play in Toronto. I think there was that internal fear that if there was any success from a local kid that played for the Leafs, they would kind of become bigger than the team, and it could create a problem for the organization. So I think that's why you saw guys at the end of their career, I wouldn't even say the back nine on the 18th hole, like Jason Allison and Mike Pekka and the Big E, like all these guys were, their careers were done. They came to Toronto to really retire. Jason Spezza is another one. That's why they signed these guys later on, because there was no fear of them becoming bigger than the team. So again, that's why I commend a guy like a Mitch Marner who grew up being a Leaf fan, and he's playing for the Leafs. He's playing well there. I know there's a habit of the Toronto fans kind of eating their young there. And when he made that comment about, they get treated like gods. Well, I don't think he meant that in a negative way.
No.
Because he was a Leaf fan himself, so he saw the Leaf players as gods.
Yeah.
I think that's where he was coming from. And it's true. The people in Toronto love their Leafs. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't think he was being cocky about that at all. And I wish I had a chance to play there, fellas. A guy growing up in Scarborough, that'd have been a dream come true. And we had actually during the lockout, we had a World Stars tour that we traveled around Europe. My agent Pat Brisson and their CA now, they put together, and we had like a 16-city tour, like 16 days, where we went to Poland and Czech and Sweden and Norway. We went everywhere. And I was there with Mats, and I was talking to Mats like, Mats, man, get me to Toronto. I'll play on your right side. I'll score 50 playing with you without a doubt. Let's go. Yeah. But it didn't end up happening. And then I tried to get the second mayor of Toronto to get me there too, Ty Domi, but he didn't have as much juice as he thought he had, so that didn't happen either.
Yeah, that's a sick story. I never knew that. It was either you or the Big E back in the day. I probably would have preferred you, to be quite honest about it. Well, Ace, great catching up, man. You guys are killing it on the panel. I watch all the time. Appreciate your time today, man.
Thanks, fellas. Anytime. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Anson.
Thanks, Rosie.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.